I'm going to show you how to replace a toilet today. First thing you want to do is pull the tank lid, put on gloves. There's some gross stuff in here. Even if it doesn't gross you out, you can catch some gnarly diseases by getting fecal matter and small cuts on your hands. So don't do that. Shut off the water. We're just going to turn that valve down there till the water's off. Then take a sponge, just a big tiling sponge is what I use, and clean out the tank. You just want to get the water out of there. So I sop up the tank and I wring this out into a bucket. Then I'm going to do the same for the bowl. Yeah, that's kind of gross. Some of you are cringing at this. Get some good gloves, get your hands in there and get that water out of there. If you don't, you're going to slosh it all over on your carpet taking this out to the garage. So use a sponge again, get that dry, wring it out into a bucket, and then we'll continue from there. Once you've got the toilet emptied, is remove all the bolts and the water supply. So first you've got a supply line down here. I'm just going to remove it here because we're going to reuse that hose. So we can leave that on. Then you've got these screws down at the bottom. They connect two bolts underneath right there. So you're going to remove those bolts. And lastly, pop that little cap off, and we're going to pull that bolt there. Then we can pull the toilet into two pieces, haul those out, and I'll show you how to put in the new one. Okay, so your next step is to get this wax ring off and clean up the caulk line around the old toilet. You're going to use a putty knife and scrape all that off, and use a putty knife to lift this guy out. Sometimes they're a little sticky. Look, I followed my own advice and got gloves, so that's good. You want to make sure you get the plastic ring. That plastic ring comes off. If the wax comes by itself, check and make sure that you get the plastic ring that should be sitting in the middle of there. Most of them have it. There are a few wax rings that won't have the plastic ring, but you're going to check and make sure that's there too. And then clean up the top of this. This is where you're going to make your seal again. So scrape this all good, get all that junk up, clean it up, and we will put in the new toilet. Okay, so your new wax ring is going to look the same as the old one, but clean. Okay, so you can take that and just put that plastic down inside of there. Make sure it sits down tight. If you've got debris underneath there, that's no good, so make sure that's clean before you put that down. Then we're going to take the toilet and just set it down on top of that. Now when you set your toilet, you need to get this little ring here lined up inside of the wax ring. So set it down there gently, press it into place, and we'll tighten the bolts. Okay. Once you've got your toilet set down, make sure you've got those little screws sticking up here on either side, and make sure it looks balanced. Make sure you're in the middle. That's going to give you an idea of where your drain goes down and where your wax ring should line up. Now for assembly, it's best to do what the instructions tell you to do. Actually read those things, because you're going to get a whole bunch of parts here, and some of them are not going to make sense. I've installed 100 toilets, and I've never had one of these things. Turns out, it goes right here. There's two of them, and they both go on this little thing, on the back on this particular toilet. Don't know why. One doesn't go in the front, but that's where they go. So, read your instructions as to the order of things, so you can see where these little clips go. These go underneath the toilet to hold the screws sticking up. These are the bolts to hold the tank on, but make sure you read through and figure out where they go. Now on my tank, I've got a gasket here that's going to go on this seal. This is your spud gasket, and these differ a little bit. They're usually pretty uniform, but there are a couple different styles. That goes over that flange, so when the tank sits on, that'll make a seal. Your screws are going to come up through these holes, and that's how you're going to bolt it together. Okay. Last step is going to be hooking up water. We just reconnected that like we did when we took it off. You can see under here, I've got the bolts on. Make sure that tank is firm. One thing to remember when you're bolting this all down is not to put it too tight. You can crack the tank or you can crack the bowl if you really crank down on these. Again, the little nuts under there, just until it's snug. You just want it to hold firmly in place. When we caulk the edge of the toilet, that is going to hold it down much better. That's going to hold it in place. So don't worry about cranking that down super tight, just snug. When the seat goes on, this particular toilet has got a couple of little metal washers that go in here, some little rubber flanges that go underneath here, and plastic bolts that go through and hold the seat on. So I'm going to put that together and we'll try it out.